India loves to boast about its GDP growth. Every international summit, every government ad, and every financial news headline seems to scream one thing: India is the fastest growing major economy. And technically, it's true. In 2025, India is projected to grow at over 6.5%, faster than China, the US, or any major European nation. Sounds impressive. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you actually walk through the streets of rural Uttar Pradesh, or the slums of Mumbai, or even the overcrowded lanes of a Tier 2 city like Patna, you'll quickly realize that growth is not reaching the average Indian. Behind all the glossy numbers and flashy press conferences lies a much deeper, inconvenient question. If India is growing so fast, why are so many Indians still living in poverty? Please take a moment to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's start with the most obvious issue: the job crisis. India's economy may be expanding on paper, but it's failing to generate meaningful employment. Youth unemployment in urban areas has soared past 18%, and even among those technically employed, the majority are stuck in informal, low-paying jobs with no security, no benefits, and no future. The truth is, most Indians are not working in high-tech offices or sleek manufacturing plants. They're driving rickshaws, working in family-run shops, or taking whatever gig they can find. Make in India was supposed to transform India into a global manufacturing hub. But even after nearly a decade, manufacturing share in India's GDP remains stuck around 15%, far below China's historical levels when it industrialized. Instead of building large-scale export-oriented factories like China did in the 2000s, India's manufacturing is still dominated by tiny workshops with 5 to 10 workers. That's not a growth engine. That's economic stagnation wearing a mask. And then there's the problem of inequality. India is one of the few places on Earth where you can find billionaires buying private jets while millions still sleep on the ground outside train stations. The top 1% of India now controls over 40% of the country's wealth. Meanwhile, the bottom 70% own barely 10%. That is not a thriving economy. That is a system rigged to benefit the elite while the masses are told to be patient. In fact, over 800 million people, more than half the population, are still reliant on the government's free grain scheme just to survive. Let that sink in. In the world's fastest growing economy, the majority of people can't afford to buy food without government help. Infrastructure tells another tale. While India is busy building a handful of new airports and high-speed rail corridors to showcase at international summits, the reality in most cities is still grim. Cities like Varanasi, Agra, or Bhopal are choked with traffic, plagued by open sewage, and starved of reliable electricity and clean drinking water. The truth is, India skipped the basic steps. China, for example, built world-class infrastructure in second- and third-tier cities before even expanding into luxury or vanity projects. Today, you can take a bullet train in China from a relatively unknown city like Zhengzhou to anywhere in the country. Meanwhile, in India, many small cities still don't even have proper roads or working drainage systems. People walk through flooded streets during monsoons while politicians cut ribbons on new stadiums. And when it comes to education and healthcare, the two pillars that decide whether a poor child can break out of poverty, India spends under 3% of its GDP on education and even less on healthcare, far below global standards. That means overcrowded government schools, underpaid teachers, and millions of children who simply never make it past primary education. It also means public hospitals that are understaffed, under-equipped, and overwhelmed. For the poor, getting sick in India isn't just a health risk, it's a financial death sentence. And even if a child somehow survives and studies, what future awaits them? A jobless market, crumbling infrastructure, and a system that rewards connections over merit. This is the cycle that traps generations in poverty. Overpopulation only makes things worse. In 2023, India overtook China to become the world's most populous country. While that sounds like a geopolitical trophy, it's actually a ticking time bomb. More people means more mouths to feed, more competition for limited jobs, more strain on water and electricity, and more pollution. Cities like Delhi now rank among the most polluted in the world, and the poor suffer the worst. Slum dwellers breathe in toxic air, drink dirty water, and live in overcrowded, unsafe housing, all while being told that their country is the next superpower. And while India is stuck in this mess, China has quietly pulled off the most successful poverty reduction campaign in human history. Over 800 million people lifted out of poverty in just 4 decades. And it wasn't just about handouts. It was about planning, infrastructure, and long-term investment. China built entire cities from scratch, connected rural villages to industrial zones, and ensured that schools, hospitals, and housing followed economic development. The result? Today, China's poverty rate is less than 1%. India's, depending on which definition you use, is still above 10%. That's not even counting the millions who live just above the poverty line and are one illness or job loss away from falling back into it. Even the Indian government quietly acknowledges this reality. Why else would they continue to provide free food to more than 800 million people? Why else would rural distress remain a constant election issue? Why else are so many Indians desperate to leave the country, not just the rich, but also students, professionals, and even low-skilled workers? The dream is no longer to build a better India. The dream is to escape it. It's time to stop confusing fast GDP growth with real progress. Yes, India has a booming tech sector. Yes, it has some shiny skyscrapers and a few unicorn startups. But if that growth isn't lifting the majority of Indians out of poverty, then what's the point? A nation is only as strong as its weakest citizen. And right now, hundreds of millions of Indians are still waiting for that strength to reach them. Until India addresses its job crisis, fixes its broken infrastructure, invests in education and healthcare, and narrows the obscene wealth gap, its so-called rise will remain hollow. Headlines may impress the world, but the ground reality tells the truth. India is growing, yes, but millions are still being left behind. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe for more content.